Welcome everybody to Monday's training, Monday's mindset slash training slash teaching, as I like to call it. Tonight we have a special guest. We brought him back. He's been here once before. Let me give him a slight introduction if you don't mind. I know he doesn't like all these things, but I'm going to do it anyway. We call him Scotty B, and he's a inspiring young man. He inspires us all the time on this app we have, Voxer, or something about just good deals of the day, good deeds of the day. So without further ado, I want to introduce Scotty B to you. This is a guy that's been in this industry a long time, like some of us, but he's also did these things. He had 2 MLM companies, 2 of them. They're still in business, but he sold them. And I think he built both of those himself to $125,000 a piece, if I'm not mistaken. So without further ado, let me welcome, guys, Scotty B. You have the floor, sir.
Hey, thanks so much, Ron. And just want to say great evening to everybody. Wherever you might be calling in from, could, I guess, still be afternoon possibly. But it's great to be here tonight and exciting. It's real interesting to me as I had a conversation just the other day, and I was sharing this with Gordon on Saturday, and then I put it on the Voxer this morning. But I've got a friend, very fortunate to have met this gentleman, and he's one of the top people in the world when it comes to social media and the internet and what's going on with the internet and where the internet is heading. Some of the conversations, and he works directly with the Google and Facebook development teams and their marketing teams. And so every time I have a conversation with him, he talks way over my head in some ways. I mean, I understand conceptually what he's saying, but so much of it, it's dealing with algorithms and things that are just kind of foreign to me. But the thing is, I keep him abreast of what we're doing, and he kind of keeps a watch out on what we're doing here. And the thing that I love so much is we're having a conversation, and I keep him updated. He asked me, he's keeping a real close eye on us. He said, Scott, he said, even the best intentions and the best people in startups sometimes just don't make it. And he said, so I love what you're doing. I'm keeping an eye. He actually enrolled and took a spot. He has his card, but he's keeping a very low profile. But we were talking. And he said, I'm going to tell you this. He said, from what I've seen, you've barely been open a few months. I mean, you haven't even scratched the surface. He said, but from what I've seen, from what you have already, you guys already are at the top of the class. There's no question about it. He said, but the thing that I see is I go onto Facebook ever so often. I watch the post, he said, and I'll go on and watch Shane ever so often. And I just kind of check in. Most people don't even know I'm there, but I check in. He said, because I do believe, he said, I feel a heartbeat with this company. He said, I feel something special. He said, most importantly, he said, I think the vision is correct. Now, I've been very fortunate because early on when Ken and Jim introduced me to the business, and then got a chance to meet Ron and Gordon. I've known Gordon for a while. I just met Ron for the first time and at that time, and I've known Shane for a while. And as I got a chance to hear the true vision, not for what we're doing today, but for where we're going to go in the next 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years, that's what blew me away. I mean, I was excited about what we have right now. Make no mistake about it. I've got right here in my pocket. It's always with me. I'm not a ring guy, but I've got my card right here. I've got my bump card. I've always got it with me, and I've got 2 of my foundations on the front. And I love this. I mean, I hate the fact that we haven't been able to be out using it a lot, but my gosh, I can't wait till we can do it. But I was talking with my friend, and he said, he said, Scott, he said, here's the one thing. Whoever thought that we would have something called TikTok, or whoever thought we would have Pinterest, who thought Instagram was going to get big and be something that companies were advertising on? When Twitter first came out, think about it. Who thought, I mean, typing 140 characters or less, who's going to like that, right? When YouTube first came out, I mean, really, are people going to watch videos online? He said, Scott, he said, we have no idea what's coming out tomorrow and becomes hot. He said, there's no rhyme or reason to it. It's just what people tend to like, and they share with others who share with others who share with others. He said, but here's the one thing I do know. He said, anybody that wants to be successful in business has to be online. There's no question about it. He said, if you want to have any kind of serious success in your business, you're going to have to be online. Because why? Because more and more people are doing what? They're going right here. Oh, look at that. Jim Hayes, Dr. Jim. I think he's in the ER. Anyways, they said that this is the place to be. You're not going to be able to be competitive if you're not. He said, but here's the thing. As soon as you think you get it figured out, you've got this thing figured out, and you're putting your money and your effort into it, all of a sudden Facebook changes an algorithm. Instagram changes something. Twitter changes something. He said, And more, you have to be where you can meet your people, which may not just be one platform. And if it's one platform today, it could be a different one tomorrow. He said it's dynamic, it's fluid, it's always fluctuating. He said, so the place you need to be is also going to be the hardest place for you to be. So you need somebody that can take care of that. He said, the thing that excites me the most is based on the 5-point concept in your digital footprint, both personal and business, is you all have a chance to truly be the global player, the number one global player in helping companies. He said small to mid-sized businesses. He said, heck, one day you might even do it for large ones. He said, I don't think that's your strong suit. He said, but with having the mass numbers of people you will, he said, because everybody's going to want to have their own digital card. It's going to become the thing, just like having an iPod, which once again today, nobody has iPods, but everybody has an iPod disguised as a phone. So he said, this is where you are going if the owners manage the company right. If they steer the ship correct, you guys build the distribution, and everybody that comes in has an aunt, an uncle, a neighbor, a brother, sister, mother, father, son, daughter, grandparent, whoever, friend at church, associate at work that owns some business or is a decision maker at a business. He said, you're going to have a warm entree to millions and millions of business owners all around the world, because he knows we already have people from other countries coming on board. He said, you're going to have something that these people trying to sell social media marketing and web-based solutions for people don't have. There's salespeople knocking on the door as a cold call. You'll have a warm opening. He said, and if your company designs the right type of marketing materials that makes it very easy for companies to see why we are the solution for them, why we are the answer for them. He said, you guys literally could build one of the biggest companies in this entire world, a major technology company. He said, I know you're a network marketing company, but you'll have a chance to be one of the biggest technology companies. And so we just had a great conversation about this just last week. And, you know, it reaffirmed for me once again what I've already felt all along from day one. I know I have a lot of people call and say, Scott, well, the texting thing's not up. Guess what? I want it to. Well, we've only been open a few months. Thank God we didn't open 2 months earlier and put up a short code thing where the entire industry is changing on us. And then all of a sudden we get everybody excited and rolling on something, and then we have to pull back and change it. I mean, you know, this industry is changing. And fortunately, thank God, with Shane and with Gordon and with Ron and with the entire executive team and what they're doing, positioning us to be right in the forefront when this transition comes and we're able to roll this forward and come out. So I just wanted to share that on the very front end, because, you know, we can have all the vision we want about ourselves. We can be as focused, as committed, as goal-driven as anybody in the world. But if we don't have a company that is steering in the correct vision to be in the right place that it needs to be, it doesn't matter how smart we are at working, we're going to have a hard time having success. But hearing that from somebody who's regarded by many as one of the top 100 people in the world in that arena, that meant a lot to me. And so when Gordon asked if I would do this tonight, I said, absolutely, are you kidding me? I'd love to, because I'd love to share that with everybody. I just shared it on our Voxer thing this morning. So for anybody who's brand new, if we haven't had a chance to meet yet, I've got 30 years network marketing experience. I've been fortunate, had great mentors, and I hit a couple companies at the right time. And I followed the system. I did my part every single day, and I've had really good success. But here's the thing that I wanted to talk about tonight, and hopefully you have something to write with and a pen or a pencil. When the new year started, everybody was feeling the same thing. Everybody was talking the same thing in general. This is not a new year. This is a new decade. 2020, the year of perfect vision. The 20s, the decade of vision. You heard it all. We all heard it all. You know, every year is a chance to make a new transition. But man, for some reason, at least in my life, this was that one that was going to be the transition. It's like anything you've ever wanted is now possible. Anything you could ever believe or conceive, now you can achieve. The 2020s, this is it. Technology's in place. We're connected. We're interconnected. Global marketplaces are opening. Our economy here was doing better than it's done in a long time. I mean, the optimism and the positivity was at an all-time high. And I don't think anybody in the world, if they had put in a hat and said, here's some things I think will happen in the first year, I don't think out of the 7.8 billion people on the planet, any one of them would have picked a global pandemic and what started as a US but kind of went worldwide as a kind of racial equality justice type thing. I just don't think anybody could have predicted those two, maybe one, but I don't believe they would have picked those two. So here we sit halfway through the year. We've been shaken. We've been shaken to our core in some respects, but guess what? We're here. And probably just like people in the past, when you study history, that have gone through some pretty difficult times, you know, many people make it through. And many people make it through and come out a lot better. The key is your attitude. The key is how you see yourself, where you see yourself going, and how you position yourself. So what I would love for everybody to do tonight, if you want, you could just think it in your head, but it's always better if you write it down. I'd like to start with a couple of areas. And what I want you to do is when I say this area, I want you to write down the number one thing that comes to your heart first. And I'm talking about just between now and the end of the year, not for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, but you got a second half of a year. The number one thing that you feel in your heart you would like to accomplish by the end of the year. And by the way, this is not a contest to see who has the biggest, most grandiose thing. It's important to you. Nothing else matters. It's not the size. It's not the scope. The only thing that matters is the importance to you. So the first one I'm going to say is your belief, your religion, your spirituality, whatever you choose to call it. For me, God is my creator. I'm a believer in Jesus Christ. I'm a Christian. That's my belief. I respect everybody's belief, and I hope you respect mine. So whatever that is to you, and if your belief is that you have no belief, what is the number one thing between now and January 1 that you most want to accomplish? And just write it down real quick. Again, it's not about how big it is. It's important to you. What's the number one thing? And just write that down. Whatever you feel, don't think too much. Try not to think at all. Try to feel. If it's coming from your heart, it's real. If it's coming from your head, you're overanalyzing. So be in your heart. So that's your spirituality, your faith, your religion. What's the number one thing? It might just be something like, I've really kind of fallen off. I used to go to worship, and with it being online, I haven't tuned in as much. So, I really want to be better at tuning into that. Or, I just want to connect with some people. I used to have some friends. Maybe we had a small group. Now we're not getting together. We did some Zooms early on. We let them fall off. Maybe we're going to pick those back up. Or maybe there's somebody going through a tough time from your church or from your synagogue or your mosque or whatever it might be. And, you might just maybe even want to call them and say, hey, I know we're not meeting like we did, but do you need anything? Is there anything I can do? Can I volunteer? There's some people having a hard time. Can I just get on the phone and call? Again, whatever that is for you, whatever touches your heart. And by the way, what you're putting down now may not be your final answer. You can come back and revisit this later, but let's take a look at this next 6 months, 5.5 months as a chance to kind of relaunch, restart our lives. And then I'd suggest you share this with your family, spouses, children, parents, and your teams if you want. This is an opportunity. And if we don't start stepping forward now, who will? And if we share this with enough other people, imagine the lives we can all touch if we do this. There's a lot of people floundering, a lot of people sitting there saying, oh my gosh, we've got, depending on what your beliefs are, we got this elephant and we got this donkey, and I don't like either one of them. Or I love this one, but I hate that one. Or if this one's in, we're doomed. Well, they've said that for many elections in the past, and we're still here. So, but there's a lot of craziness going on. Oh my gosh, all these people are killing people and looting and rioting. Well, compared to most people protesting, there's really very little taking place, but media is what media is. But guess what? If you feel it, then it becomes really real. So we need to be leaders, and the best way we can lead, and that's the reason I started with faith. For me personally, it's my favorite, but it's time for us to step up. And when you step up and people see you leading, guess what that does? That attracts people to you. So see, there's a little method to this madness for our bump card business, but it starts with us first. So first is the faith. Second thing is family. In the next 6 months, what's the number one thing that you would most like to do with your family? You probably have many things, but sometimes what I found is, and I've seen this in goal setting sessions, hey, you put the top 10 things you want to do in all these areas. And at the end, you got this list of 50 or 60 things. Well, you've already failed because it's way too much, way too much. But what's the number one thing? And again, size doesn't matter. It's not about whose is better or bigger or more grandiose. It's what it means for you in your heart. Family, it might be, I've lost contact with somebody. Or we were doing some family Zooms, but we kind of quit doing those. Maybe we won't do them so much, but instead of once a week, maybe we're going to do one once a month for the next 6 months, or until, the COVID kind of lifts and the quarantines lift and it gets a little easier. What do you want to do with family? Is there somebody who you may not even really be able to remember exactly why you're not talking, but something happened and you got a pretty strong feeling why it is on your part, but instead of being right, maybe you just put a hand out and say, listen, you feel how you feel, I feel how I feel, but you know what? I love you, your family, and I just want to bury the hatchet. If I did something to offend you, I sincerely apologize. And as long as you didn't do it on purpose, and even if you did, you could still apologize. But if you really never did anything that was premeditated or intentional to do, and if you feel you're wrong, guess what? Step up and say, I was wrong. I'm sorry. You mean so much more to me than being right about this. What can we do to bury the hatchet? What can we do to get over this? What can we do to come back together and move forward? I couldn't imagine going through the rest of my life feeling this way. So whatever it is for your family. So you've got your faith, you've got your family. Then what I want you to think about is your wellness, your wellness. Has COVID taken its toll on you? And wellness, by the way, is not just one thing. It's not just physically, it's mental, it's emotional, it's all of it. But specifically, it's been proven that if you do certain things physically, it can also enhance your emotional and your spiritual as well. So if you haven't really been doing anything physically, what would you like to do in the next 6 months? And again, you don't have to go run a marathon if you haven't run one. If you've never run one, if you've never run, you don't have to run a marathon in 6 months. But what can you do that you can do a little bit each day for the next 6 months? Or maybe say, I don't want to do it every day, but maybe you want to do it 4 or 5 days a week. It could be 10 or 15 minutes of exercise if you haven't done anything. Again, not stepping up and being a crazy maniac, but doing something. If you're already doing something, what's something else you can do on top of that? What's something else you can do on top of that? I'm going to come back to the other part of that in just another piece here. So you've got your faith, you've got your family, you've got your wellness. Those are a few areas. What about friends? What about friends? Are there some friends that you, even though you maybe did some connecting early on with the quarantine, but you've kind of let up, I mean, it seems like it's fading and then it pops back up. But are there some friends that you like to reach out to that you haven't talked to in a while? Are there some friends in town that you could just call that maybe you haven't called in a while, but they're good friends just to check? Hey, you know what? Just checking. I know it's been crazy. Haven't talked in a while, just checking in. Not to sell them the bump card, not to try to promote or anything, but just to really connect. Through connection, they're probably going to ask you, well, what have you been up to? Well, I'm glad you asked. I really just called to connect, but I tell you what, I got something going here. It's really pretty amazing. And I'll share it with you, but let's stay focused on what we're doing here. Kind of take a step back. Don't throw it down their throat. But when you're done, just say, hey, let me text something to you real quick. And boom, say, I want you to keep this, just like I'm calling you here. I want to make sure we never lose touch. I've got a new card that's the last card I'll ever need for my life. It's my life card. Anything and everything I do in business, personal, professional, everything. If we ever lose touch again, which I hope we don't, but all you have to do is go to my contact, literally just click the little URL there. It'll update all my current information because I'm going to keep it updated. So you'll always have everything that keeps us in touch. You'll know what I'm doing. You'll see websites for my businesses. You'll see all my social media of today and anything in the future. You're going to see it all. So you don't do it as a primary focus, but inevitably in conversation, people say, well, what have you been up to? And you be the one to engage them first. Don't let them ask you first. You be the one, you do the conversational questioning. They call it conversational interrogation. You be the one that leads the questions. You be the one that shows a sincere interest for them. You be the one that takes the time to sincerely find out what they're up to in life. How are they doing? How's their family? What's been going on? Are they okay? What are they doing in business? Any new hobbies they've picked up? You know how to build rapport or reestablish rapport. Just do it in a very conversational, caring, from the heart way. And the opportunity may or may not present itself to share the bump card. If it doesn't, don't worry about it. You can always circle back around. That's not your intention, but it's always an option. So you've got your faith, you've got your family, you've got your wellness, you've got your friends. Those are important areas. There's some other ones as well. One of the ones I love is personal empowerment, or some people call it personal development. What is the number one thing you'd like to do in the next 6 months in personal development? There might be a book that you've wanted to read, or maybe a book that you started and have put down a couple of times. How about reading the book all the way from start to finish? Maybe there's been somebody you've wanted to start following on a podcast or start watching some videos. Maybe it's just, I really need to do a little bit more. So I'm going to commit myself to, 10 or 15 minutes a day of reading something. Maybe, in your faith, maybe you want to read in the Bible. You say, I want to read in the Bible. So you start doing that. Again, whatever it is for you, it is for you. And you probably have a lot of things you want to do in these categories. I'm not saying you can't, but if you'll identify one in each of these, your chance of succeeding at all of them, it increases tremendously versus trying to do 4 or 5 things in each one of them. Another one that I love is contribution. Contribution. This could be time, this could be money, this could be both. Is there a certain organization that you've always wanted to do something for? Maybe donate some time, donate some money, or both. You've been thinking about it. Maybe you used to, but you just haven't in a while. Maybe you want to start doing it again. Sorry. and you want to reach out and do something you haven't done in a while. Maybe there's something that's kind of touched your heart. Maybe, maybe you were like one of the biggest meat eaters in the world for many, many years. And then you've seen some videos about how animals are farmed and raised. And you say, it just doesn't sit well with me. Or maybe you've seen how certain people in a certain part of the world are being treated or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's not what anybody else feels. It's what you feel. If there's something that touches your heart and you say, I can make a difference, even if it's just going onto their website and commenting on some of their things, maybe reaching out and contacting the owner or some of the people that run it and saying, hey, I'd love to get involved in some way. I live here in Louisville, Kentucky. Do you guys ever do anything here? Is there anything I could do to help you here? Do you have a need for anything? Here's my skill set. Here's the things I'm good at. And see if there's a way that you can help them out. Anything that you can do for contribution. So these are just some of the key areas that I like to talk about. What I'd like you to do now is, if you have another area in your life that's important to you, because I'm going to come back with the final one. But I want you to think, is there anything in your life? Maybe you have a hobby. Maybe there's something you just love. Maybe you're an avid fisherman or fisherwoman, fisher person. Oh my gosh, hold on a second, guys. What are you doing, you crazy maniac? Oh my gosh, I'm getting attack of the kitty. So say hi there. Hi. So maybe you have something that's a hobby, something you love, something you wanted to do, and you haven't done for a while. Maybe it's something you want to take up. You say, I've wanted to learn to play piano, or I've wanted to learn more about wine and like to learn about wine tasting. So I'll go to a local place where they do some wine tastings. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter, but something that touches you, something that is for you. All the things we're talking about here is for family, for faith, for friends, and it's all for you. But what's that one thing that is uniquely you? Is there something, if there's ever been a time, this is still the first year of an entire new decade. And I think the 20s are going to be amazing. I think when we look back, we'll talk about the crazy start, but I truly feel that when we look back 10 years from now, 20 years from now, or longer, if we're blessed to do that, we're going to talk about the 20s starting crazy, but being fantastic, because I really believe that it will be. So what's one thing for you? And what is that one thing you'd like to do between now and the end of the year? And you could come back to this and add more later on. But the final one I'm going to talk about is, of course, the bump card. What is the one thing revolving around the bump card that you most want to do? And I'm going to share this. I'm a big believer in goal setting, but I'm also a big believer in setting goals that you can control. What do I mean? Like a lot of people say, well, I want to get 20 new affiliates. That's great. Who doesn't? Maybe you want more. You can't really control that, but you know what you can control? The number of people that you actually reach out to and contact and approach and share the bump card with. That's truly the only thing we can control. So if you say you want 20, and if you have 5 right now, and you've talked to 25 people, well, you know that you're getting 1 out of 5. So technically, based on your numbers up to now, that means if between now and the end of the year you want 20, well, you can't guarantee that, but what you do know is you're getting 1 out of 5. So if you want 20, you need 20 times 5 is 100. So between now and the end of the year, you need to approach and share, not just text or email, literally get them to come on and see the amazing presentations that we have done by our leadership. You need to have 100 people to review the bump card. And statistically speaking, the probability is you'll have 20 new affiliates by the end of the year. And obviously, we don't have conferences right now. There's nothing else that we can really do other than tune in and do the things we do. But really, the only thing we can do is build that we can totally control. So focus on between now and the end of the year, how many people would you like to approach? And I'd say break that up between really about 4 months. Because you got Thanksgiving in there, you got Labor Day weekend. I don't know if we're going to be out and bumping at that time or not. And then literally you got Black Friday, Cyber Monday, you got December with the holidays. Not that we're not going to be working them, we will. And with our product, it's going to be great because hopefully by then everybody's out and shopping and socializing, and we're going to be bumping like maniacs, no question. But base this particular goal on about a 4-month period. So if you say I got to approach 100 people, I got it 4 months, that's 25 a month. If you divide that by 4 weeks, Well, it's pretty much about 6 people a week on average. I know there's 13 weeks if you look at a quarter, but just kind of take a look at that and break that down and say, if I start this week coming up, over the next 4 months, what can I do? The bonus is you got an extra, literally about an extra almost 2 months at the end, a month and a half, that if you haven't hit the numbers you want, you still got a little bit of time left. So if you compress that into 4 months instead of 6, you're giving yourself a buffer, which does what? It gives you really a great chance of hitting your goal, right? Because if you've fallen a little short at the end of 4 months, which is what you planned for, you still got another 6 weeks to make it happen. And there's nothing that feels better than setting a goal, one that we got to reach for, but one that we can achieve and that we do achieve. And so again, mindset, attitude, I mean, it's everything. But I believe if you take a look at these things, and hopefully by doing this, when you come back and review these a little later, if you truly decide to go for it, you've put things down that mean something to you. If you have a spouse, I suggest you share this with your spouse and maybe even have them do the exercise and compare. So you know what they're running at, they know what you're running at. You got your biggest and best champion right there with you, shoulder to shoulder, heart to heart, and you guys are doing this together. I mean, what a beautiful thing to cheer somebody on that you love and care about so much. And I just might be crazy enough to think that we can actually see significant growth, more than what we'll get anyways, if we kind of inspire our teams to do this as well. So anyways, guys, that's my thing for tonight. I know it's very simple, very basic. I believe it's very powerful if it's done. But it's a blueprint to get focused on the things that mean the most to you. And nothing makes somebody feel better than when they're doing something that feels good for them, especially when other people around them are going to see the benefit, feel the benefit, and be the beneficiaries of you being a happier, more fulfilled, more enjoyable person. They can't help but enjoy being around you even more. And of course, then it always comes back to it for us, a lot better chance of bumping somebody with the bump card. So anyways, that's it, Ron. Pretty simple, pretty basic, but it's just, my feelings and thoughts for how we can take this last half of the year and make it serve us first and foremost, but simultaneously also serve us in the bump card as we finish out our first calendar year as we go into 2021.
Scotty B, thank you so much. And you are allowed at this moment, sir, to drop the mic. All I have to say at this point is this. That's it. Listen, guys, I thank so much for being here. Scotty B, again, what a wonderful, fantastic job you did. I think to sum it up, just crush the end of the year, whatever it is that makes you happy. Other than that, guys, don't forget, on Thursday, we will not be doing 3 presentations. We will do 1, 8 Central, 9 Eastern. Be sure and have your prospects on there. Again, everybody, thank you so much for being here on Monday. I know how Mondays can be, but we appreciate you and we love you, and we will see you on Thursday. Have a fantastic evening, everybody. God bless.